guys, how's it going? It's Al, week 10 on Draftkings. No, we're going to be on FanDuel this week because I have JJ Zachariason, the late round quarterback, joining us for this week's charity cage match. We're going to be playing for $100 this week. The loser will donate to charity on behalf of the winner. We're going to play a head-to-head game against each other. We're going to be drafting on FanDuel this week because of rules and regulations and such and legalese and whatever else. But typically speaking, when you play a head-to-head in DFS, you end up with like a 2v2 because the chalk is very much defined. And this year it's been very straightforward, especially in high stakes, where if you've watched my recap videos on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel, you know that like the 2 or 3 highest played players of the week, the cash game core has been like 90 to 100% owned. So the way that we do this is we draft these teams kind of snake draft style, more schoolyard basketball style. First and 1, second and 2, and then we pick one each the rest of the way down the road. And if he picks somebody, I can't have him. And if I pick somebody, he can't have him, which makes for a totally different way to play the game. So let's bring him in. Thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
Hey, JJ, how's it going, man?
It's good, man. How are you? It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. It's been a while. Glad to have you here. Before we start, why don't you tell everybody where they can find all of your work on socials? And you just started your own website this year. So as you said before we went live, you're a small business owner now.
I am. Yeah. Lateround.com is where you can find my Patreon, my podcast, all that good stuff. I have guides during the off season, but it's in season. No one needs a draft guide or a prospect guide. And then on Twitter, I'm on Twitter at LateRoundQB.
Perfect. So I did want to remind everybody to join the Smiz Gang Listen League. Go to smizzle.tv/links. It's the only way that you can get in. It is on DraftKings. It's a $10 tournament, 3 max, $45,000 in the prize pool. Absolutely no rake. The best tournament that exists on DraftKings. Every single week, I'll shout out the top 10 finishers on the recap video that's on that Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel every single Monday. Go check it out for week 9. If you haven't already, go to smizzle.tv/links and join that today, as well as click everything else and follow me everywhere else. We're going to be playing for $100 this week. We're both playing for No Kid Hungry. Obviously, we've been doing our fundraiser here on the channel, trying to raise $100,000 collectively for No Kid Hungry. Our next match is at $50,000. We're approaching $42,000 raised currently. For every $10,000 of community raises, I have pledged to match $10,000 up to $100,000 raised by December 31st. All donations are 100% tax deductible. They go through Tiltify. Smizzle.tv/charity will take you there. And JJ is also playing for No Kid Hungry, which he has raised money for through his East Coast Dad sweatshirts. One I have. I'm a West Coast dad, but I support the East Coast dads. I bought that sweatshirt and he has been raising money for them as well. So both guys today playing for No Kid Hungry. The link is down below, smizzle.tv/charity, if you wanted to be part of our fundraiser here on the channel. So JJ, you picked first. You wanted to go number 1 overall.
I do. Yeah.
Right. So who do you have in mind? Who's the guy? Who's the one guy that you have to have?
I'm just going with the most expensive guy in the slate. I'm gonna take Saquon.
He's good.
He's pretty good. He's got a pretty good matchup this week against Houston.
Maybe the best matchup.
You know, at home. I mean, in a head to head, he feels like a lock this week.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. So I'm gonna have to make things work now. So like already this sucks.
I mean, look, I'm in a not even like we don't have the luxury of finding value right now either, just given when we're drafting.
Yeah, it's tough.
And injuries and such. So it's 9,500 is not cheap to deal with.
It's okay. So it's not cheap, but like also I think that there are ways to go.
There are, yeah.
Specifically on FanDuel, because like I think that there is value, but it's a different drafting method than you would utilize on DraftKings, because
100%.
You know, half PPR, no bonuses, versus full PPR. So I kind of got to gamble a little bit on touchdowns, specifically to this site. I'm gonna go. I have 2 picks, so I'm gonna find a little bit of value. I think that there's an underpriced wide receiver. It's gonna be Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Figured that's the direction you'd go.
6,900, very nice price. The last 2 games that he has started and finished, 9 targets and 10 targets. We should be seeing a return to the volume that he saw at the second half of last season, as well as what he started with this season. They traded away TJ Hawkinson, opening up 17+% more of the market share. It's not all going to go to Amon-Ra St. Brown, but like I'm pretty sure that we can expect a minimum of like 25% on any given week and probably 30+ over the rest of the season. So I'll lock him in at 6,900 against Chicago. And then I've got decisions. All right, I'm gonna lock in another value guy. You ready for this one?
Yeah.
This is stupid.
Don't do it to me.
It's kind of dumb. It's not. You're not gonna be mad about it.
Okay, go
This
ahead.
is not gonna upset you.
Go ahead.
So I'm gonna go with DPJ.
Okay, it's one of my value wideouts on this slate for sure. That's a good pick. It's a good pick.
Okay. So he's not going to be a guy who gets me 8, 9, 10 targets, right? So this is a FanDuel pick where he's only 5,700, which is so tremendously cheap considering what you just saw for the pricing on Saquon Barkley at like, $98,000 roughly.
Yeah.
So I get 5,700 for a guy who certainly has touchdown upside. And for those of you who live squarely in a brownstone on Narrative Street, this is a road game for the Browns, which means Amari Cooper is going to be packing it in with 4 targets, 1 catch, and no touchdowns. So any passing touchdowns have to go to DPJ. I'm going to lock him in at 5,700 and gamble on the touchdowns on FanDuel.
Naturally.
Yes.
I like DPJ. You went 2 wideouts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to openly talk game theory because I'm playing.
Please do.
You.
But the viewers like it.
Yeah, the viewers do like it. You went wide receiver there. I'm going to assume you have a wide receiver in mind for your 3rd wide receiver spot and that you're going to probably go running back next. That's my guess because there are some decent ones, but I might throw a little curveball at running back.
Okay.
You ready for this?
I'm ready for curveballs.
I'm going to throw a little curveball. Oh, man. Maybe, you know what? I'm going to go a different direction.
You're not going to throw a curveball.
I'm not. I'm going to play this really safe.
Okay.
Because I think there's one
I know
more
what
really
the curveball is now that I'm looking down the list.
I think that there's one really good value wideout left in that like sub 6 range.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go after it. I'm gonna take George Pickens.
Okay. Talk me through, John. Now you're a Steelers fan. How much of this is a homer pick? How much of this is a Claypool being traded pick? Talk me through this one.
Zero homerism.
Okay.
This is matchup wise, it's not bad for them. They're coming off a bye. Chase Claypool had a 17% target share in that offense per game before he, was traded. Obviously, a lot of people talk about vacated targets not being a thing. Like they get very angry on the internet about this. And
they do?
Yeah, it's not.
That's
it's
one
not
where they've never come for me on that one.
Oh, they get so angry about it. I can't tell if you're being sarcastic right now.
No, really. I've been attacked on so many different things, but I've never been attacked for saying they vacated this. There's vacated targets.
Yeah. So the argument for vacated targets or for vacated targets not being a thing, especially entering a season, right? Because you're saying like, 280 targets have left this team year over year. Mm-hmm. The argument against that kind of analysis is that number one, targets are earned. So obviously you have to be good in order to see the volume that you're seeing, or that a wide receiver, running back, what have you, would be seeing. Number two, is that the offense itself can shift and can change pretty dramatically, year over year. So like, a team that was really, really pass heavy one year, might regress to some degree the next season. And so that volume that you're looking at vacated targets is off of that very high passing volume. Whereas now it's a mid-range one, let's say. But I think it's like, I don't really get upset about it because it's just a general, like, this is what's going on in this team. There's opportunity for someone to step up and maybe see some more work. I look at it more from a vacated target share standpoint because target share will always equal 100%. And we can fit that into whatever projection we have at the team level. So Pittsburgh, they have 17% of their team's targets walking away with Chase Claypool. I think Pat Freiermuth is going to be someone who benefits from that for sure. Just given the fact that he's, playing in the middle of the field and Chase Claypool's been a slot guy for them. But George Pickens, who over the last couple of games, 14% target share, 7.5% target share. It should bump. I mean, he's going to be a full-time player for sure now. And I mean, there's not much in terms of alternatives for them to go to. They don't really even have a true slot guy anymore. I mean, I think they probably want like a Calvin Austin to eventually be that, but he's been banged up. He hasn't.
What are they going to do? So like, who's going to be the third guy who
they have like Miles Boykin and stuff. They're probably just going to rotate guys. So, I mean, but aside from Deontay and Pickens, obviously playing the perimeter. So, I think Pickens at 5,600. I really like Donovan Peoples-Jones. So I think going that direct, but I have Pickens from a value standpoint right there with him this week as well. At this price point.
Okay, fair enough. I will add him to your team. I do like Pickens right now. He's pretty cheap. Again, finding wide receivers on FanDuel who have touchdown upside is somewhat important. It's something that you should do. So we have to gamble on touchdowns. Jesus Christ. It's kind of this slate. I don't like this slate at all, JJ.
It's very hard, dude. I was looking at stuff. It's really, really. That's why I said whenever I pick Saquon, it's not. It's straightforward. Like when you're just building a DFS lineup this week, you're gonna want to in a cash. You're gonna want Saquon to be in cash. But in a format like this where we're not able to necessarily plan appropriately and just take whatever values we want, because I think if you go with a Saquon, it's very easy to go with a Pickens and DPJ even and Amon-Ra. You could go with those 3 wide receivers and be fine with a good running back stable, but just tougher in this environment.
I agree. So like, can you make me feel better about picking Travis Etienne Jr.?
That's a good pick.
Like
good pick.
Sort of. Like he's pissing me off. Not him. The way that they're deploying him is pissing me. The results have been great. 25.6, 23.7, 18.4, but like they're turning him into Derrick Henry, throwing him 2 or 3 targets, 6 targets over the last 5 targets over the last 2 weeks, 10 targets over the last 3 weeks. I need to normalize 5+ targets out of Travis Etienne. And it may be the thing that's coming now because of the matchup that they've got this week against Kansas City, where they're projecting to play from behind. Sorry, I added him to your team. I want to add him to they're projecting to play from behind in this one, so more positive game scripts. And they do run this dink and dunk offense. So like, why not throw the ball a little bit more to the guy who is out of the backfield, who actually profiles as a very good pass catcher out of the backfield?
Yeah. Look, ETN was one of the 2 that I was going to go after with my last pick and decided against. But yeah, I mean, you're right. 6.9% target share this past week. That's not
gross.
That's not what we like to see.
In a game that they were behind 17-0, like or at least 14-0 at the beginning, like throw the ball to the running back a little bit.
Yeah, 90% running back rush share though. So he's at least
the only
capturing
show in
that.
town.
Yeah, exactly. I like it though. ETN was the one guy, but I know who my next pick is now.
Good, go for it.
This was kind of my low key, might get some flack for, but I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook next.
Okay, so he's on my list. Why do you think you would get flack for Dalvin Cook? Now this is the most interesting spot of the week, is this particular game, because maybe Josh Allen is fine and maybe he needs Tommy John surgery.
Yeah. I think people just look at the matchup in general on the road, not necessarily a positive game script if things go favorably for Josh Allen, but I don't think it necessarily is that big of a deal for a guy in Cook who, I mean, there was a point in time this year, like week 5 or so, around that shoulder injury where it seemed like they were going to like start really splitting that backfield with Alexander Mattison, and it just hasn't happened. I mean,
thankfully.
Dalvin Cook the last few weeks has just been a full-blown workhorse bell cow. I mean, he's been amazing from a usage standpoint. This game, if they don't, the way I see this is that if Josh Allen is out, we could see a lot of a nice positive game script for Minnesota potentially. If Josh Allen is in, then we could just see a shootout and a higher scoring game. So I think that Cook at 7,500. The main reason I said that too is that there's just a decent amount of running backs just in that range that aren't horrific. So I was just kind of waiting for you to pick between ETN and Dalvin Cook there for me.
Fair enough. I mean, he's a little bit cheaper, 7,500 for Dalvin Cook on the road, obviously an underdog now, but like, where does that line move if Josh Allen's out this? Was it been 6.5 to 7.5 all week long?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, where does that line move? How many points is Josh Allen worth?
At least
sports books.
I mean, I would assume that it's I don't know. I'm not good enough at this.
It's scary. Neither am I. Like I would think that do you Minnesota has to be favored. It's got to minimum be a pick 'em.
That's
There's
what
my initial
points
off.
Yeah, my initial reaction was like 7 or 8 points or something like that.
Yeah, it's a touchdown plus. It's 7.5. It's got to be 7.5 swing, which would push it through like 3 benchmarks. It would push it through 3-0, like and if it's 7.5 right now, it would push it more. Like this game moves to a pick 'em minimum, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I'm not a sports bettor. Fade every one of my picks always.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
the way
not.
that goes.
That's all I am too.
So like, there's a curveball. I'm not gonna go for the curveball. I kind of have to take a cheap guy. There's one more cheap player that I have to take, and it doesn't feel great. It really doesn't.
This is the name of the slate.
I hate this slate. Now, I may like the slate more as the week goes on.
We will, because like if Jonathan Taylor's out, then all of a sudden that frees up a lot with Deion Jackson potentially, and there's just a lot of that going on.
See, I would rather Ezekiel Elliott just be out and have Tony Pollard be a thing.
Sure, same deal. But I'm just saying, like there's there are way more outs later in the week potentially
Yes.
than where we're at right now.
Right. So like to give us that extra guy, because like right now you have to pick on Wednesdays when we do these drafts, you have to pick an uncomfortable player.
Yes.
So instead of picking a fully uncomfortable player, I'm going to take a little bit of volume, another value wide receiver. I'm going to go with Rondale Moore.
Okay.
And I know that volume plays better on DraftKings than it does on FanDuel, but 18 targets the last 2 games, running primarily out of the slot. I'm going to be spamming Rondale Moore into lineups for the next few weeks at least, and until the price goes up to respect the amount of routes and targets that he's getting, the amount of easily convertible passes to catches that he's getting, on top of no Hollywood. But now when Hollywood comes back, I'm going to have to readjust because there's just less targets to go around. It's going to fluctuate a lot more. But right now, a 7 floor of targets does not sound unreasonable for Rondale Moore. I will take the value here with the yards that he can bring, expecting them to have to look for look, Nuke Hopkins is an amazing player, but like there's going to be smaller windows for him to throw through. So I think that there's going to be more opportunity for guys like Ertz this week. There's going to be more opportunity for guys like Moore this week to accentuate an edge against a defense that is extremely tough. So give me Rondale Moore at 5,800. I'm going to just gamble on the cheap touchdowns at wide receiver. I'm going to find other ways to pay up to get different.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
You sound thrilled.
It's just so hard.
It's a very tough week.
There's not many good wideouts, but
No.
you have your 3.
I can pick a 4th. They let me do that.
You can pick a 4th. I understand, but I'm going to hang on. Let me do some math really quick.
Go for it.
This is the hardest part of the cage match, is doing the math midstream.
The waiting is usually the hardest part. At least that's what I've been told in song.
The waiting for the next pick.
The waiting is the hardest part.
I got you now. Okay. All right. I am going to do something that I wouldn't do probably in a regular lineup build.
Why not?
But it's a little bit different right now because I'm just trying to pick off some value and go with the typical build that I go with on FanDuel, which is a 3 running back build.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go Dameon Pierce with the next pick.
He was the guy I was just kind of hovering over. So like,
yeah, I don't love having 2 running backs in this game. Like,
right. This is where you're being
that.
funneled this week. Like this, honestly, this is where it's going. So here's the thing that I want you to talk about a little bit, because it'll help me sort out the rest of my team while you're talking.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Dameon Pierce being the 2022 version of James Robinson's rookie year. He also looks really good, right? Like passes the eyeball test for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different though. I have a year 2 model, which looks at a guy's prospect score in my prospect model, and then looks at some inputs from their rookie season, and then spits out a year 2 score, and it allows you to then see whether or not you should buy or sell in Dynasty, essentially, or even in redraft. It can help with redraft a little bit too. Just basically projects how these guys are going to do in years 2 and 3 of their NFL career in terms of best season PPR points per game. Mm-hmm. And historically, James Robinson, who, my model didn't like because of where he was. He didn't get drafted, so my model didn't like him because of that, but it did like him more than what others liked him, because no one was really paying attention to James Robinson. I have this thing called draft capital delta in the prospect model, which shows if a guy's under or overrated, and both James Robinson and Elijah Mitchell were underrated. With that being said, their year 2 scores were not that strong, or as strong as you might expect, because their prospect score weighed them down a little bit, because naturally, a guy coming from nowhere, his rookie season generally just doesn't always just pan out. But the difference with Dameon Pierce is his draft capital is different. His draft capital was not nearly as bad as what we saw from Elijah Mitchell, from James Robinson. And he was a little bit better of a prospect as a result of that. He was a little bit worse of a prospect because they split his freaking backfield at Florida for no reason at all. He wasn't a full-blown bell cow in college, which is bizarre. But I do think there's you like, if you have Dameon Pierce in Dynasty, you can feel a little bit more optimistic than I was selling James Robinson after his rookie year. I was selling Elijah Mitchell this past offseason, and I don't necessarily have those same vibes with Dameon Pierce because the investment was a little bit different. Like he's 10 spots away from being a day 2 pick. We have to be cognizant of that.
All I know is that like I went down to Houston in preseason. We ended up seeing like a New Orleans Saints, the game with the Saints and the Texans, right? Yeah. And they put him in. I was like, all right, I want to see this kid. He's got like an ADP in like the 130s. Let's see how he looks. And I was like, he carried the ball the first 2 times. I was like, oh God, he's not going to be at 130 for long. Like this kid looks like the deal right now, and there's no running back on that roster. It was like Marlon Mack got the first series. It was like, okay, yeah, he looks very average, and this kid comes out and was just eye popping.
Yeah, he's good, man.
Yeah, very, very good. All right, I got 6,700. You can't really see it on the screen. I have like 6,700 per position remaining, but I have a defense, and like defense is really cheap, so it's gonna skew it. 33,600 remaining.
At least we're in different tiers here, so that we're not necessarily going after the same guys.
We are not necessarily going after the same guys, but I think there's somebody that you're not going to take, which means that I'm
going to take him next. I know who it is, and I'm going to take him next.
No, you're not. No, you're not going to take him next. Definitely not going to take him next. I'm going to go with Patty Mahomes.
Oh, okay. I thought that's who you thought I was going to talk.
No, that's not who I thought you were going to take. I'm going with Patrick Mahomes.
That's a good pick.
I think that as the season rolls along, they're going to move more to Isaiah Pacheco out of the backfield. But like, it really doesn't even matter because they're just going to throw it a million times. I'm going to take out this 68 passing attempts because that's never happening again. He's probably going to throw the ball like 40 times, but it's efficiency that matters when it comes to quarterback fantasy scoring and not necessarily volume. Now, if you get a really efficient quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, who also throws it an absolute metric ton like 68 times and has the ability to run the football, you end up with like a 35-point day on FanDuel without even throwing a lot of touchdowns. So 446 yards, a rushing touchdown, 63 yards on the ground. They get Jacksonville this week. I think he's going to absolutely thrive. I think there are two quarterbacks to pay for on DraftKings this week. I personally prefer Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, Justin Fields is super solid. I'm not sure that Josh Allen's going to play this week. So these are the two guys that I think are really the most in play on FanDuel.
I agree. I
wanted to make sure I got the one I wanted.
You could maybe throw Tua in there, I think.
Every week with Tua, right? Just like
Tua, but I agree. Like I'm just gonna wait on Fields at this point, as my QB. But I would have gone Mahomes with my next pick because
I did get the guy. I did not think you were gonna go Mahomes.
Yeah, no, that was my next pick.
Okay.
All right, so I got to find a way to get some wide receivers.
Yeah, you do
with not a lot of money. I'm going to take a chance again. You mentioned touchdown equity being a thing for on FanDuel, especially. And this is an offense who, I'm not really that high on this game per se, but it's at least an offense that can get cooking and can work. And it's a guy who actually had a 23% target share the last time we saw them. It's a little bit risky, but I'm just going to go with Michael Gallup at 5,700.
Okay. Look, you mentioned like there's not a game that you really like all that much. Like I don't like many. There's like two games that are at all good. Right. And everything else is just garbage. Every player on this slate seems to have massive warts. You've got 24,000 remaining. Also, some of that's for defense, so about 20,000 remaining on average. For the rest of those players, you got 3 players to go. So plenty of money to spend. Coming back over to me. Let's see where I'm going to go. I got that guy.
What's the rules on inactives, by the way?
If a player is inactive, you can we're not drafting for this. It opens up the possibility for like people to like angle shoot and game theory, but nobody's ever done it because like we're playing for charity. We're not trying to be cutthroat.
Yeah. I'm just trying. Yeah.
If we draft a player and they are then inactive, but like if you pick Josh Allen and then he's inactive, you can swap him out for another player. But you can't change anybody else on your line unless they also are inactive. So
yeah, I got you.
It's just a protection move because I want everybody to have a full lineup.
And can they, if I have some salary left, am I able to go up $100 or $200?
You are. Okay. Like I said, like it's a thing where people can game theory their way around.
Yeah, I'm not trying to like.
Yeah, nobody's ever angle shot that.
Yeah.
God, where can I go now? I have a route that I would like to go. And I think the key to going that route, the first guy or is it the second? It's the first guy. The first guy is the key. All right, I'm going to take Travis Kelce. He's 8,500. He's a massive differentiator at the position, specifically on FanDuel, because he has not scored a touchdown in a few weeks, but he's getting more than enough volume. This is a stat that you referenced on your podcast a few years ago that really, really stuck with me. I think it had to be like 2020. 2019 or 2020. It stuck with me that it was receptions and yards are the thing that is the most sticky to tight ends when it comes to touchdown scoring outside of like just end zone target.
Yeah, you can look at just general usage. If you want like a very quick and dirty way of spotting regression, you can literally just look at what a tight end averages per touchdown in terms of yardage, which is probably like 140 something. You could do it for this year, last decade, what have you. And you can literally just say, okay, this guy's underperforming or overperforming based on that. Now, there's a lot more nuance that goes into it. There's a lot more detail that you can dig into. You know, like Chris Godwin's a really good example of that right now, where Godwin hasn't scored a touchdown this year. He has a decent amount of yards, but he also doesn't have a single end zone target this season. So, you know, it's his expected touchdowns is higher than 0. You know, it's probably like 1.5, maybe 2. But you likely, you know, you're not going to get the same result from a yards to touchdowns conversion for a guy like Godwin as you would, you know, someone who's consistently seeing targets in the end zone, and seeing that kind of work. But yeah, I mean, you can I want to give people tools that they can use themselves that are easy to do. You don't need this like detailed formula to spot regression. And that's just one of the quick and dirty and easy ways to do it.
So Travis Kelce, if he continues getting 1 million targets, 500,000 catches, and 250,000 yards, he should be all right.
I have no idea what direction I'm going next.
No idea. It's such a dumb week. It's
a very dumb week.
It's really, like, I've said that. I don't say that every week, right? I said it last week that it was a dumb week, and this week is again a dumb week.
Yeah. I'm really mad you took Amon-Ra St. Brown, by the way.
I'm really happy that you're really mad.
Yeah, that's not very fun for me. Let me just look at some values real quick.
Yeah, go for it. I have to make an ugly pick, by the way. There's an ugly pick that I'm forced to make.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of mine are just ugly. Amon-Ra would fit perfectly with my build right now, by the way. Like he would have been a very good fit for this. All right. I'm
looking at like the value wide receivers, trying to scroll by them, see if the viewers, can figure out who they might want if they were in your shoes. But I don't know that you can find a guy that they would want if they were in your shoes.
This is really hard to. Let me look up something really quick.
It's really bad. This
really
week
bad.
is so dumb.
All right.
It's very difficult from a cash game perspective, and it's entirely stupid from a tournament perspective. Now, obviously, you can make the argument that tournaments are more about creativity, so you can do different things, and you don't have to definitely follow the rules or anything else. But like right now, things look really odd, and there's certain places where you have to hang your hat. Both sites have gotten very tight, and part of that is because it's a shorter game slate because of lots of bye weeks, an additional game in Europe, and the usual 3 island games outside of that.
Man, I don't like this. All right. What's the longest that someone stalled making a pick on this show?
Matthew Berry, the show took like an hour and a half when Berry was on.
Yeah, because he was okay. That makes me feel at least a little bit better.
For like 8 minutes every pick. It was a great show.
Makes me feel a little bit better. I mean, I could just pick Justin Fields right now and buy a lot of time.
Do that. Click it back to me. Check it back.
No, I can't do that. I'm trying to make one guy fit right now.
Okay.
That's it.
And you cannot pick a running back because it's got to be a wide receiver or a tight end.
Yeah, it's got to be a wide receiver, tight end, defense, or Justin Fields.
Defense or Justin Fields.
The other thing I could do is say, screw you, Justin Fields, and go to Tua and see if that opens anything up for me.
That is a thing that you can do.
And what I want to do here, because no, that doesn't really open up enough. Okay. Do you feel good being in this position right now?
Me or you?
I feel horrible right now.
You feel horrible? Yeah, wait till you make your pick. I'm going to make you feel even worse.
You can't take Fields.
I'm going to make you feel so much worse when you take your pick. This is going to be great.
Why are you doing this to me? All right. You know what? Okay. I didn't even realize that this was his price point. How much, by the way, you DFS people.
How dare you?
You DFS people, because I am fully a, like I play DFS obviously, but I am fully a season long analyst, right? Like we all know this. And you DFS people get so into the fault, like you don't just like let things settle just for a sec. Like you got to just like seeing what's going on around the NFL and the environment and analyze it and then slowly move on. Wednesday's my day where I'm analyzing the next week's matchups. I haven't even been able to do that yet, Smith, but you know what? I'm going with Christian Kirk.
Okay. Oh no. I kind of wanted Christian Kirk.
Yeah, I did that partially for the stack and partially because I think that he's probably the best sub 7K guy left. I could have gone Juju if I wanted to, but I think Kirk's a better play.
Yeah, I mean, both are in play. And again, there's just very little places to go from, let's say, 6,500 to 7,300 on FanDuel at wide receiver. So it's a really tough spot. I'm going to do something. I'm going to click it right back to you really fast. I'm just going to take the Saints defense against Pittsburgh because I want you to watch that game and really be upset every time that Pickett gets sacked or throws a really bad pass or interception and throws it under 5 yards every single time. And I'm going to make a pick in like 3 seconds. So now you have to make another pick.
Guess what? I'm going to make another pick and pick the Steelers defense in that same game.
Damn it. I thought you were going to be really upset because you weren't going to have another pick ready.
I don't even know. Like, I honestly, like, not even the best play there that I could. I probably should have gone like Chicago or something, but I don't even care. I need to just take the defense from the same game just so that we can
now
have
it's a challenge match. Now it's like, now it's really a head-to-head. So I have 6,300 remaining. There's not many routes that I can go. There's only a couple of things that I can do here. Thankfully, you left me out because, like you said, like there's Kirk and then there's like a couple of other guys there.
You could double stack.
Yeah, like it's not like the optimal cash gameplay usually. As I said, there is definitely an ugly play that I have to make.
I mean, look at what my tight end's going to be. I'm spending 5,300 on a tight end.
Look, there's a guy down there, but again, now you're going to be double stacking Jacksonville.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have to make an ugly pick. I have to take a super duper cheap running back to make this work. And like, look what's available down here. There's like nothing. There's the not. Upside pick. Here's the question. I'm not going to pick him. Okay. I'm going to tell you I'm not going to pick him, but like, let's give something actionable to the folks.
Tony Pollard?
Jaylen Warren.
Oh yeah. That'd be fun.
Is he a thing or is he not a thing? Was the Pittsburgh sports content creator just pontificating? Do you think Warren sees an expanded role?
Is this the Andrew Filipponi tweet?
Whoever it was. Yeah, I was like anytime I see a tweet like that, like I don't need to vet it. I'm just like, here's his price on DraftKings. You know, he's 5,300 on FanDuel. If he gets, let's say, 12 touches a game moving forward, I'm not even saying he's going to get like all of it, right? He's not just going to take Harris's job, but like, let's say he just gets like 10 or 12 touches a week.
Yeah, I think he's going to see more work, but he's been seeing more work. Like this is. I feel sort of the same way about Leonard Fournette and Rachaad White as I do Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, in that people are reacting based on beat reporters without actually looking at what's been going on the last handful of weeks, right? Like in Tampa Bay, like you shouldn't be reacting to someone, a beat reporter saying, you know, Leonard Fournette is going to lose his job by the end of the year, or he's, you know, Rachaad White's going to be playing a lot more than Leonard Fournette by the end of the year. You should be leading with data and what we've been seeing, how the coaching staff has been using them, which is it's been trending this way. This isn't like it only happened last week. It's that Rachaad White's been digging into Leonard Fournette's workload since like week 2. And so it's the same thing with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. The last time we saw them, Jaylen Warren was seeing some work, and he's been seeing some work now.
And he's been explosive with the work that he's gotten.
Right. Do I think that Jaylen Warren is going to take Najee Harris's job? I do not. And the reason for that is partially politically too, because Najee Harris is ingrained. He's like a captain on that team. He's a huge part of that locker room.
Massive draft equity as well from a franchise point of view.
Right. And Mike Tomlin knows what he's doing in terms of coaching people and handling the way that these players think about their team. I mean, we've seen that for years and years. He's one of the best at doing that. And so I don't think that we're going to see a situation where Jaylen Warren is the bell cow. But I do think that we're going to see a situation where this could be more like 55-45 than it's been. But again, this is just like, it's way safer and smarter to just look at where the data is trending as opposed to listening to what a beat reporter is saying or what someone on radio is saying about this backfield, when that's way more subjective than the actual actions that these teams are taking. So I do think that Warren's going to see more work. Yeah. I mean, that's it, but it's not a lot different to me than
you think he's going to see more work, but you don't think he's going to see more work than Harris, which is what the report was.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Or the pontification or the speculation or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, I mean, of course, you know, we think in range of outcomes, anything is possible, but I think that what's logical is that Najee is still seeing the most work in that backfield while Jaylen Warren is seeing just more work than he was before. But it's not a lot different than the Chiefs backfield, right? Like
that thing's a mess.
Yeah, but we're going by a report by Rap Sheet about Isaiah Pacheco becoming the starter, which he technically became the starter. And he has, like, since Rap Sheets had that report, Isaiah Pacheco's played more snaps in consecutive games than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So it's not so much, you know, and then a lot of people are like, oh, well, Pacheco's trash because he's not the starter. And I get that feeling. But at the same time, if you look at what the data is saying and how the usage looks, he is, I mean, there was a change, like something changed and shifted. And so you have to, it's way smarter long-term benefit for your fantasy teams and the way that you play DFS to look at those underlying numbers as opposed to just like reading a blurb and saying, oh, this is the way this is going to go now.
Yeah, see, nobody wants context. Everybody just wants the black and white answer. Here's the black and white answer. I take Devin Singletary. It's ugly. I understand that, and I'm fine with it.
Singletary?
Yeah, it's gross.
I think Jim Sonis and Brandon Gadula, who over at Number Fire and FanDuel, I think their nickname for Singletary is Single Tutty because he just.
I would be okay with that. Give me one touchdown.
Yeah, he actually would be great this week though. He like if Josh Allen doesn't go, they might lean on him a little bit more and at least give him some looks in the end in the red zone.
I hope so. He's
that.
Like super cheap. He's 5,600. It's that or try to find another super cheap wide receiver to plug in flex, and then if we knew Tony Pollard was a thing, that would have been the route to go. But since we don't know that he's a thing,
Pollard would have probably been the 101.
More than likely.
Yeah.
So him being speculative makes him somebody that we may not even draft in this thing. But you have Justin Fields and a tight end.
Yeah, so I'll take the tight. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter.
Take both. Take your tight end, and then I'll plug in Justin Fields for you.
Yeah, I'll just go with Evan Ingram. And he is banged up. And the other thing, so I have $400 left with Evan Ingram in there. I could pivot then to Cole Kmet if Evan Ingram doesn't go for whatever reason.
Yes.
Which I don't love Cole Kmet. I think that people are way overinflating what happened last week, but still at least have the matchup, the stack, all that kind of stuff to pivot to. I just like Ingram straight up more than Kmet, even though this is a very awkward stack that I have in this lineup with Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram just chilling there.
So Fields, Barkley, Cook, very strong with Dameon Pierce at flex as well. 4 good running backs in this lineup. Pickens, Gallup, Kirk, Ingram, and the fearsome Steelers defense. That leaves me with a flex for 7,100. I could just gamble on Tony Pollard, but the problem with just gambling on Tony Pollard is if Zeke can go, then I get back to this range in here, as opposed to going with somebody like Juju Smith-Schuster, which in a cash game, I'm not really a double stack. I know that this lineup is a double stack bring back, but not by design. I just like the volume that he's gotten and the trust that we have seen grow between him and Patrick Mahomes as the year's gone along. Yes, I believe that Kadarius Toney is a thing, who is at least on par talent-wise with Juju Smith-Schuster and possibly a better receiver. But as they said, they're going to bring him along slowly. I don't think that he jumps up into the 8 or more target range right away, if at all, this season. I think that they're going to use him like they have with everyone else, with MVS, who's basically just turned into a marathon runner at this point, which is great. And Hardman, who takes all of the red zone snaps away from everybody else. They're just giving him all the touches as they get really cute and creative every time they get inside the 5-yard line. So I'm going to take Juju Smith-Schuster here. I agree that at 7K, Tony Pollard would be a much better play. So store that as you will. I've got Patrick Mahomes, ETN, Devin Singletary to make it all work. I'm on Ross St. Brown, DPJ, Rondale Moore, Travis Kelce, my differentiator, Juju Smith-Schuster, and the Saints defense. Thank you guys for watching. Go follow JJ at Late Round QB on the Twitter machine, and go check out his website as well. Great draft guide and amazing prospect profile. JJ, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy week.
Thanks, man. It's good talking to you.
You too, man. Guys, look out for another video right there. Hair's looking nice.
I know. I had to style. I actually just got done Pelotoning and showering, and
I was gonna say you look rather fit.
It's not going well here today up here. I really should have just thrown on a hat, if I'm being honest with you.
You got a helmet right behind you. Throw that on.
I feel like I'm wearing a helmet with all this hair. My God. Do
you have molding gel, sculpting hair gel?
I have the pomade stuff that I put in here and try to make it look relatively presentable. But now I just look like Johnny Bravo.
He's a legend.